We have Jack Manifold's human design here. What is human design? Well, human design is a person's energetic blueprints and allows them to understand how they say their yes or no. When a person understands how to say their yes and no, then they're making correct decisions for themselves, which ultimately allows them to have their purpose flow through them without getting their brain involved. So, Jack Manifold, your incarnation cross is that you are the right angle cross of explanation. And, well, that's a whole different reading, but that's your purpose in life. So, what is human design? Human design brings us back to who we are because society, our viewers, our friends expect a certain caliber from us, and sometimes we even decide to change ourselves because, maybe that person over there is doing it like that, and you want that success, so you change yourself, or maybe you humiliate yourself, so you vow to yourself that you never do that again, even though it's something that you really enjoy. So this is just truly bringing you back to you. It really goes back to like birth. Those conditioning things exist as soon as we're born. You're a girl, you like pink. You're a boy, you like blue. Our tiny little bodies are forced to sit down in school and all learn the same way. And then we're all expected to go to and finish school, go to college, university, and all get this 9-to-5 job. Those are conditioning factors. But, when we leave our place, our humble abode where we were raised, we think we're free, but, we're not really free. We have to adhere to the TOS of life, and we have our customers or our bosses, and even though you are your own boss, you have a certain expectation of how you're supposed to be, and your viewers as well. So you do manipulate the way you are a little bit to, be pleasant for that experience. So once again, human design is bringing us back to ourselves, and it reminds you of who you are so that you can make correct decisions for yourself. And it doesn't make you impervious to the things in life that are negative, but when you are experiencing those negative things in life, then at least you're making those correct decisions for yourself. All right, I just remembered. I watched Jack Manifold, or you, on Dr. K or Healthygamer GG, and I felt really called to actually do your human design because you're a very young person. I mean, I'm 35, so I consider you young. I'm sorry. But you've seen success. And I remember a question of like, well, now what? And that's why I wanted to do this, is because now what? What do you actually want to do? What does your energy want to move towards? That's what we're going to run over here. So it's going to be a 2-part experience here. We just ran over part 1. What is human design? Why would you want to get a human design reading? It's so that you can understand how you, at the very basic levels, work. So these next 2 parts are going to be how do you, Jack Manifold, say your yes and no? And then we'll be giving you some brain candy afterwards. So those are the next 2 parts. The next part is really the most important part of this whole experience. The brain candy has some pretty nifty stuff in it, but, the point of this whole human design experience is to understand how you say your yes and no, so that with every decision, you're making the correct decision for you. Okay. I need to say as well that I don't have your exact time of birth. Your exact time of birth gives me the exact details that I need to be able to say things about you in a very, very deep way. And because of that, in other times of the day, if you were born in other times of the day, these two particular centers here would be colored in as well, which obviously changes your makeup. But also, this here profile changes. And I'm just going to say it now. Your profile is your behavioral costume in life and how you see yourself and how other people see you. So when you're acting correctly, this is how the world sees you and this is how you see yourself. So it's kind of cool to see what your profile is with your exact time of birth, but it changes too much throughout the day for me to be able to talk to you about that. So, yeah, let's move on into how do you, Jack Manifold, say your yes and no? Well, because your type is that you are a projector, you are waiting for the invitation. That is your strategy. Now, I like to break this down into different terminology. Strategy and authority, that's how you make your decisions. That's your yes and no choice mechanism, strategy and authority. So your yes and no, strategy and authority, that's what I'll be talking about, your yes and no. So if you hear me say strategy and authority, I'm talking about your choice mechanism. We'll be talking about your type later in the brain candy stuff, but we just decided to mention it now. How do you say your yes and no? What is your choice mechanism? Well, it's a two-part strategy. Here, it's going to take a few minutes to explain. So let's just sit back and snore. So your particular aura is like this penetrating aura. And the thing is that when I say wait for the invitation, what you're actually doing is you're waiting to interrupt all of that conditioned behavior that you've been taught throughout your whole life. You're waiting to see if your energy actually has the energy to partake in the things that are coming at you. So you're not disengaging with life. You're not just sitting there doing nothing. I mean, I saw you recently. You popped over to America and you were in a lot of different streams that I watched. You aren't doing nothing. You are out there and engaging, seeing if that's what you want to do. And I'm sure there was some experiences that you had while you were here that you're like, no, I don't want to do that again. Or yeah, that's going to be great. So, or you just walked away from some things. So regarding this strategy, wait for the invitation. Waiting for the invitation really means being recognized for your awesome. So waiting for the invitation or waiting to be recognized are really the same thing. So, oh, Jack, you're such a great YouTuber. Oh, Jack, you're so lively. So like these are just different ways to be recognized. Jack, you're so kind. But it could be an actual invitation. Hey, Jack, do you want to come to America to experience this thing? So waiting for the invitation, that's actually part one of how you say your yes and no. The thing is that my dad, my brother are also projectors that need to wait for the invitation. And I also had another person in this realm of this stuff that was also a projector. And the thing is that waiting for the invitation is pretty important because I've noticed that, okay, we'll start with my brother. My brother is really into foraging mushrooms. He isn't into the psychedelic whatever. He's really into the whole realm of mushrooms. And the thing is that my brother could talk for hours about it and he's so passionate. And if somebody even mentions the word of foraging or outside or mushrooms, he can talk for hours and you're just like rolling your eyes. So the thing is that he's not waiting for the invitation to speak. he's just speaking because he's super passionate. We're like, ugh, really? Again? I love my brother, and I love that he's passionate about it. So here's the difference, is that my brother actually just got a new job as a lobster fisherman. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, what is it like being out in the water? How's your motion sickness? How's your hands? How's the weather? Is your skin okay? Like, and those are those questions that people would literally sit there and listen to him for hours, because those were those opening invitations for him to talk about something. And he's actually quite passionate about it, so he does talk about it for a bit, and it's just a very easy conversation. So I was working in the this realm of things, the intuitive realm, and my projector partner, who I was doing healing stuff with, talk therapy, I guess you would say, she told me I was broken, literally in those words, and I should fix myself. And that was literally the last day I spoke to her, because I was like, I didn't ask you. Why are you telling me this? I didn't want your opinion. So yeah, that's that. I wonder if you've had experiences in your life where you have given your thought or opinion, or you're super passionate about something, and people's ears are turned off, or they're just like, why did you just tell me that? I don't understand. So, I don't know, my dad's a projector as well, so at a very young age, my grandmother told him to stop talking about certain things because it scares people. I guess he felt ashamed and he stopped being himself, so he waits for the invitation to speak so that he doesn't scare people. So he's been conditioned away from his true self, really. But if he had the proper ears to listen, that stuff that my dad was saying would have been beautiful for people to hear. So waiting for the invitation is really important, because people are recognizing you for you and your mastery and you're awesome. And when they say, oh, you're so good at, being able to assimilate those things, put those things together, that is people recognizing you. You can literally be invited to locations, and just because you're invited doesn't mean you have to accept. So that's actually part 2 of how do I actually say my yes and no. So I've stopped the conditioning, I've waited for the invitation, waited for people to recognize who I am as a person. What do I do now? How do I say my yes and no? So Jack, this is where your second part comes in, your inner authority. So this is part 1 of saying your yes and no, break up the conditioning of what we're used to doing in particular situations. In your part 2, this is where your actual yes and no comes from. Your solar plexus. Now, just because it says emotional doesn't mean that you're emotional and all over the place. You actually have a quite fixed way of expressing your emotions. Now, regarding the solar plexus, this is the solar plexus. This is where your decision making comes from. The thing is that 50% of the world has this colored in like you do. The colored in word is defined. And then 50% of the world has it undefined, or, uncolored or white. I'm one of those people who have it colored in. Or sorry, white. You have it colored in. It's a 50-50. The reason why I'm saying that, we'll talk about it in a minute. So with this solar plexus is that because it's an awareness center and it's an evolving center as well, it's an energy center, it's kind of like unstable, so you experience it in many ways. So there's many fluctuations that a person can experience this in. And that's why, long story short, there's no truth in the now for you. Or you really need to wait to make decisions. So another way to say this is that maybe you're super excited about something, or you're super angry about something, bitter. You're like, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna actually hop into it because I'm super excited. I want to say that making decisions out of emotional driven expectations, it's not what's correct for you. You might find yourself in those particular situations where you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then you leave and you're like, oh my God, why did I just commit to that? So, you are allowed to say no. If you feel like it's proper for you, you are allowed to cancel. So the thing is, I have so many different things to say. My brain is just going in a million different ways. Okay, so there's no truth in the now. You need to be patient. So regarding this, how do you say your yes and no? Well, because there's no truth in the now, you really need to put time between your decision making and the actual ask of the question. So in the moment is not ever a good decision for you to make a decision. There's actually multiple places on your chart where it's you're not an instantaneous being. Here, here, and here. Those are 3 different places in your chart where you're not an instantaneous being. You really need to be patient with yourself. You really need to get that clarity. So what does clarity look like? Well, clarity is like going on a surfboard in the ocean. There's a big wave. It's so big that it kind of like pulls itself back out. So you're up on the wave and then you go back down, except you bottom out. If you were to know that that was going to be the expectation of the experience, I'm sure you wouldn't have done it. So you need to ride the emotional up wave and the emotional down wave before you can get some clarity. Sometimes that could be pretty quickly for you, but it's not instantaneous for you. So when people ask you a question, your answer could be, just give me some time to think about that and allow your body to move through the clarity. So let's just say that you have option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13 doors for you to choose from. There's so many different options for you to do. What do you do? Well, what door is the most clear? Maybe the 9th door is the most clear. So you're going to choose that one because a choice needs to be made, right? Or clarity to you might be 70% clear. That is really darn clear. Don't ever expect to be fully clear on your decisions. So if you're like 70% clear, awesome, cool. So you really do need this time, this patience with yourself to be recognized for your mastery and your guidance. You are amazing at what you do, at what you have gotten clarity for, about what really brings this feeling of success for you in life, peace. So let's say that over again. And this is actually going to be the end of our part 1. How do you say your yes and no? What is your strategy and authority? You need to wait for the invitation, and your authority is through the solar plexus. So if you go out there just speaking, it's just going to fall on deaf ears, and it's going to end up being a bitter experience for you. So waiting for the invitation, working on your mastery, becoming the awesome guide that you are. You're just breaking up the conditioning of what you're used to acting on, what society expects from us, and the way we were raised. So that's what you're breaking up. That's what you're waiting for. You're waiting to see if your energy has the proper means to be able to partake in that or not. So your inner authority, once again, is your solar plexus. Did you get clarity over time? What is the most proper thing for you? All right. So that is how you say your yes and no's. So what's next? Have you been invited into something for your mastery? Has someone recognized you for your awesome? Or is it still time just to work on what you're here to work on? Just because you might feel the pressure to do something, it doesn't mean that you have to. So what did you gain clarity on? I'm sure there's many doors as a successful being to go through. Which one is the most clear? Let me ask you a question as well, Jack Manifold. When you've instantaneously committed to something, how often do you feel bitter? And if you don't recognize this pattern in the past, just see what happens when you instantaneously commit to something in the moment, and what happens. Do you end up bitter? Angry? Yeah, so really, I'm inviting you to experiment with that. It doesn't have to be this hippy dippy, energy. Let's sit down like a monk and say, This can actually be very scientific. In a science experiment, a person, writes up a hypothesis, does their experiment, and draws a conclusion. Well, for me, I'm telling you that for this, meeting this, I never would have been a streamer if it wouldn't have been for this. I would have overthought the fact of all the million different things that it requires to be a streamer, and I wouldn't have done it. So this actually helped me be here, which I never knew that being a streamer is everything that I want it to be as a job, but I just never knew because it was never presented to me, right? So human design has led me to happiness and has led me with the confidence of understanding that when I make a decision, it's proper for me. And that when I make a proper decision for myself, it's a proper decision for everybody. When you make a proper decision for you, you're allowing your purpose to flow through you. So I invite you to be patient. I invite you to gain clarity. Maybe your clarity needs more than one night. Maybe your clarity needs 3 months to get clarity. So yeah, I invite you to really take a look at that. Okay. Now, the third part of this experience, one was what is human design. Part 2 is how do you say your yes and no. But part 3 is who is Jack Manifold? What is all of this stuff up on the screen there? Well, this is where the brain candy comes in. Okay, so we are in part 3. We're going to be talking about brain candy. Now, I want to start with projector, your type. There's actually 3 different types of projectors out there. And you are an energy projector. My dad's an energy projector. And we'll talk about some of the conundrums that he might face as an energy projector as we go through all of this experience. So we were just talking about your strategy and authority, and we were talking about how it leads to your purpose in life. Let's talk about that just for a second. Let's talk about all this stuff on the side of the screen. We were talking about if you make correct decisions, it could allow you to have your purpose flow through you without getting your brain involved, because it's your energy that's doing the talking. Well, the thing is that let's just say your clarity said to do it, and you're like, I'm actually a little bit afraid. I don't want to do it. That's actually leading you away from your purpose. So you will see bitterness. Every time you do the opposite of what your energy tells you, you'll see not self-expressions of bitterness. So I'm going to ask you, Jack Manifold, where are you bitter in life? Where do you see bitterness? Those are actually the places in your life where I could actually see or tell you that up levels are needed. Why are you bitter? What aren't you doing for yourself? Did you commit to something too quickly and now it's just like, ugh? What are you bitter about it? What's making you bitter? Now the thing is that recognizing where you're bitter in life, and that the fact that that is the place where you can up level. I'm not saying that you need to quit something or start something to make you feel better. What does your energy now tell you to do with its new clarity regarding the bitterness of that situation? Don't be instantaneous. Be patient. So, if your energy got clarity and it said no, don't do it, and you did it anyway, you're also going to lead yourself off the track of your purpose in life, and you'll end up bitter. So if you follow your strategy and authority, you're on purpose, on path of incarnation cross. If you don't follow your strategy and authority, you're not on your path of your purpose, and you're in your not self theme of being bitter. That's pretty much what all of these are saying. So, people try to hide a lot of those negative feelings that they're feeling. But I'm going to ask you, Jack, to take a look at your life and where are you bitter? What needs to change? This is the invitation to recognize those things, right? Okay, so we're going to hop into this chart over here. We're really done talking about the words over on the very far right. This here, I can't talk about it because I need your exact time of birth. What this here tells me about you is where you feel the most pressure in life to be, or what you feel the most pressure in life to be. And I can kind of take a stab at it right now, but you're actually either a triple split definition or a split definition, and that's really just, playing with fire at this point, guessing too many things. All right. Actually, when you say your yes and no correctly for you, when you gain your clarity over time, when you are recognized for your awesome, when you're making correct decisions for you, your behavioral costume of your profile just naturally emerges. Your incarnation cross just naturally emerges. There's nothing that you need to do extra. All you have to do is be who you already are. Just bring yourself back to who you already are. All right, I said I was going to talk about the middle stuff a lot, but there really is a lot of different things to say about a person. I could talk about each chart for 18 hours. We could talk about sleep. We could talk about the next year. We could talk about relationship analysis. We could talk about group analysis. I don't know if I said sleep. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. So there's many different ways that we could talk about this health-wise as well. All right. Well, what is all of this stuff on the chart? Well, over on the right side, you'll see that there is a list of numbers. They're black. It says the word personality. These are a list of characteristics or traits that define who you are, and they were captured the moment you were born. They were where the planets were when you were born. This isn't astrology, guys. This is human design. Now, over on the left side here, we see design. Red numbers. These are also a list of characteristics that describe who you are, and they were actually captured about 88 days before you were born, and these are unconscious to you, so you might not be so aware that they exist, or when they do pop up, you might kind of avoid them because you're like, whoa. But yeah, you're highly aware that these ones on the right side exist, but might not be so aware that the ones on the left side exist. But the thing is that this is actually what makes all of this color happen in the center here in the body graph. All right, what are we looking at here in the body graph? We see geometrical shapes and we see lines. I want you to focus on those geometrical shapes. Those geometrical shapes, those are called centers in the human design system. The human design system is a synthesis of many things, so people might call them chakras, but no, they're centers. It's not astrology, it's not chakras, it's not the tree of life, it's not just genetics, biochemistry, etc. It's the synthesis of all of it. So these colors end up in the center in the body graph here. Those geometrical shapes are called centers. All right, so the ones that are colored in, they're called defined. It's reliable, it's consistent, it's you. It's what you put out into the world. And the white stuff in the chart, the white centers, this is called undefined or open. And these are just unreliable and inconsistent. They're kind of like open windows. You don't always keep your windows open, especially without a screen. You don't want bugs getting in. You don't want birds flying in there. It's just not supposed to be in there. So another way of seeing these white centers are, they're not really you. It's just places where you play, you can have fun in, but don't identify with them because they're not you. So how do we end up with this conundrum of trying to be something else that we're not? Well, the brain is just like, ugh, why would I be myself? That's so boring. Let's be all the things that are like white inside of the chart or undefined. Those things look fun. Those look, or maybe it's just the fact that you feel unstable in those particular centers because you understand that they're, like open windows. And you're trying to make them feel like they're consistent or defined, or you're trying to make them who you are, but it's not who you are. If you try to manipulate your chart saying, oh, well, I know who I am, I can wait for the particular perfect time to do this, you're not using your energy correctly. You didn't get, anyhow. Okay. What makes definition inside the chart? Let's take a look at the 43 and the 23 here. You'll find the 43 in the list here. You'll find a 23 in the list here because it's red. 43, 23. Nice. So, that's how it comes together. When you have two colors come together in a line like that, it creates definition in the centers on each end. That's how you are consistent, that's how you're reliable, and that's how that makes that you. That's why it ends up being you, what you put out into the world. Now, in a very in-depth situation where a person would have already had this reading and have been experimenting a lot, we can actually go into all these numbers and describe who they are and what they are for you. But we're going to start with the centers. Let's start with the defined things. What are you? Who are you? What do you put out into the world? Well, the root center down here at the bottom, the brown square, this is all about fuel and pressure. So it's about consistent pressure. So you do have the proper timing of getting things done correctly. And you'll notice that it's actually attached to your solar plexus. Your solar plexus is about, being patient, and this is about timing, the correct timing. So you're starting to see how your correct timing is becoming very important for you and your success and your peace in life. So we already explained what this was earlier, but it's just this unstable awareness energy center, and it's kind of evolving, and there's just a multitude of ways that you can experiment or experience this, and there's a very fixed way of how you experience this. Now, earlier we talked about how 50% of the population has this colored in like you, and the other 50% like me doesn't have it colored in or defined. So it's white, it's undefined. My fiance has this defined. And when he walks in the house, and if he's in a poop mood, I can totally feel it. I'm absorbing all of that poop. So I'm just like, yo, what's wrong? He's like, nothing. I'm like, no, really, what happened today? And then he just starts to like tell me all the crap things that happened, and then it just goes away. I don't feel that like amplified pressure. But the thing is that with you, if you start a conversation with someone like me, and I'm getting my butt up all in the air, then you'll start a conversation, and then I'll escalate it, and then you'll amplify that, and I'll escalate that even more. So I wonder if there's a lot of emotional escalations around you. I wonder if you unknowingly escalate those because the people around you, like myself, are taking on your emotions, and we think that they're ours. So that's pretty interesting to know. Now, up here, this upside down green triangle, second from the top, that's your ajna. It's about conceptualization, formalization, structure, etc. And you have this defined, so you have a fixed way of expressing your conceptualizations. And here, this is the throat center, this brown square in the center of the top chart here. It's about manifestation, transformation. Now, there are little channels that run through here. Here and here. We can actually go deeper into who you are, Jack, because of those little lines that connect to who you are. So this here, this channel, is called the channel of synthesis, the design of being sensitive. And this actually could possibly be somewhere where you feel some of your pressure right now. Long story short, this is about making sure that the basic needs in the tribe are met. Am I fed? Am I clothed? Is everybody comfortable? And now it's about, sorry, I'm saying as if, you know, you have already completed this, but it's a lifetime thing. So you've made sure that everybody's fed, everybody's warm, get a roof over their head, or yourself. This is about you, right? But this is also about the tribe. What's next? You know, let's compare it to a seat at the table. It's said that, you know, the head of the table is like the best place to sit. So, you know, you're kind of trying to make your way forward to the end of that table now. So you have shelter over your head. You have clothes on your body. Now what? Well, it's actually in your design to just, you know, go up on the ladder, go up that chain. And that's okay for you to chase after. It's never let anybody make you feel like, you know, having too much materialistic things. But it doesn't even necessarily have to be materialism. Maybe you want to go up on that level of emotional abundance, or nutritional abundance, or, you know, gaming abundance. Like, where is that ladder that you're officially climbing? Or where in your life are you still making sure that you have that shelter over you? So that's what that's all about. And you're actually kind of hidden to some of this because of where it's sitting in your chart, way down here. But it also makes you have a little bit of that drive. That's your drive in life. Okay, what about this one here? The thing is that before I move on, I want to talk about this one more time. you'll notice that this little bottom here looks like a candy cane and this little top here looks, it's like it's pure black. That's because there's, you know, 19 over here, 19 over here. You just want to be a hermit and your network with all of these things that you want to go forth with, on top of it being the tribe. But you're quite aware of this aspect of who you are, so you recognize that you're a person who has this capability of moving forward, or, you know, making sure that your needs are met. So because you know logically that you can control it, maybe you try to make those decisions out of your head. But in the human design system, we're not here to use our head to make the decisions. We're here to get clarity. You are here to get clarity and to wait for the invitation regarding your mastery. So that's just about it around there. Of course, we can go deeper and deeper and deeper regarding some of those things, but let's talk about this one here. This is the channel of structuring a design of individuality. I think that this is beautiful. Firstly, I want to say that it's over here, over on the design side. It's kind of like you're shining light into the world, and kind of what drives you is this structuring and this assimilation. The thing is that I was telling you that the red is about might not being aware of it. So you might be wondering why people think that you're this person who can structure things and tear things apart, and you know, you're such an individual person and you're such an insightful person. You can assimilate things so greatly. You know, you can split them apart, break them apart, and have these breakthroughs about things. And people see this about you. Maybe because it's, you know, some of your shining light out into the world. You might recognize this about yourself, or looking back at your life, you might be like, yeah. But when you're this person who is trying to have these, you know, these times where you're trying to break things apart or split through it, and you're like, no, I'm supposed to be building stuff, not tearing it down. Your body is actually naturally moving you in the correct direction. Like I said, this is the design of individuality. Interestingly enough, people who have individual circuitry inside their chart, it's actually all over the place. There's 11 different channels. This is one of them. There's 11 different channels inside the chart that has melancholy at the base of it. So melancholy, let's talk about it. There's nothing that you're doing wrong when melancholy hits. Melancholy might feel like extreme boredness. They're so bored to the bones it hurts. It would be, well, why would I even bother having a new knowing? It's not even worth it. Or why would I even bother trying to be this individual? I'm not going to be seen. But the thing is that you being your individual person, this person who structures things, that's ultimately what leads people to be, for you to be inspirational for the tribe. This is you. So this melancholy that you're feeling, once again, you're not doing anything wrong, and there's actually nothing that you need to do to make it go away. It's an uncomfortable feeling, of course. Maybe this emptiness feeling, but there's nothing that you need to do with it. Just be you. Just keep on moving through life with clarity. What does your body tell you? This melancholy experience, even though it's a little bit tough emotionally, I want to tell you that there's actually a light at the end of the tunnel, because this melancholy, I mean, if we're going to go all weird on it, you know, those creation books, the Bibles, well, there was nothing and then there was something. It's kind of like how it's happening here. When you are feeling this melancholic stage, you are feeling the beginning of this very, very creative thing that's about to happen in your life. So just let the melancholy be, so that you can see this creative thing that's going to happen in your life. Once again, there's nothing that you need to do about that melancholy. It just feels uncomfortable, so people try to get rid of it, right? Oh, what can I do to get rid of it? Now, the thing is, there's a difference between depression and melancholy, so I'm not a doctor. You can talk to Dr. K about that. So regarding Jack Manifold, who are you? Well, you are a person who is here to gain clarity about things that's correct for you, and also what's correct for you is also correct for the tribe. You are here to be patient because your correct timing will understand what is correct for you and what is correct for you to conceptualize, and for what's correct for you to conceptualize, to break through, to split apart into structure, so that you can externalize that and have this manifestation experience with some of the things that you want in life. Waiting for the invitation. You are a person who is a guide. But regarding who you are as well, you are a person who doesn't know that you provoke people. You could provoke the feels, or you do have the feels yourself. You are a person who is of caution, and you are a person who is here to have everything shine through this little 4.3 here, which is irresponsibility. But with that, it's actually a logic gate, so you're logical. You're quite logical, and you're a person who's here to formalize things. You have this youthful folly about you, and you always will. And especially if it's here down in Mars as well, you're gonna just be bumping into things, having this maybe this outsider look of you being irresponsible, but dudes, you're quite responsible, I would say. And this Mars here really wants to be up on the billboard too, since it's a force. So it's all shining through the fact that you want to be a hermit and just like trial and error the things that you're here to trial and error. To those skills and all of the formalizations that you need to do. It's all going to shine through here. You're going to conceptualize it, break through, and split it apart, and you're going to have these new mutations happen, and it's just going to be great. And when you do that, your natural self is just going to externalize itself, running across the explanation. All right, so we talked about all the things that you are. Who are you not? We said that when you are making decisions that are not correct for you, so if your energy said do it and you don't, you're going to end up in the not self experience, which is bitter. So where can you find yourself bitter? Well, let's talk about your head. This is your head. It's open. You might feel the pressure to be inspirational. You might feel the pressure to answer all the questions. That's not you. If you find yourself answering all the questions or trying to be inspirational, you're going to find yourself bitter. Your energy will gain clarity on what's inspirational for you and what's proper for you to formulate or to structure. And it might make people a little bit nervous to not have the answers, but guess what? An answer of I don't know is okay. You don't have to be the person that ends up answering everybody else's questions. Ooh, I know. When we're in class. I want to talk about this one here. This is called the sacral. My dad pretty much has this makeup here. And long story short, if my dad doesn't know when it's... Okay, so the not self-expression of this is not knowing when enough is enough. And as an energy projector, it's actually really, really important that you spend time by yourself each and every day so that you can like diffuse the energy that you've picked up from other people during the run of the day. Because you might end up pushing yourself beyond when enough is enough. And then you'll be super tired, burnt out, bitter. So, for example, my dad and his not self, well, he smoked. And then he quit smoking, and then he started eating. So he didn't know when enough was enough there. And then he stopped eating, and then he walked 22 kilometers a day. So he didn't know when enough was enough there, and then he stopped walking, and then he went back to eating. So there's something messing with his true self in this aspect here. He needs to figure it out, right? Because he doesn't know when enough's enough in a particular amount of different areas in his life. And especially where he's an energy projector, he's just like picking up other people's energy, and it's like, you might just feel like you're an energizer bunny sometimes. It's not you, actually. You just need to dispel all of that energy that you've picked up. Spend time in your own aura energy. So I want to go to this one here. I'm purposely leaving these ones to the last. So this one over here, that's your spleen center. When you're in your not self, so you're making decisions that aren't correct for you, this is when you find yourself holding on to people, places, or things or experiences that are far beyond their expiration date. Terrible people, terrible experiences. Or this is where you actually are like, I got this. I'm going to get rid of my support system. And then you just get rid of them, which is also your not self. You know, you're meant to have support systems. You're not meant to do everything by yourself. But this is where people can find themselves in those negative relationships, those negative places. And you don't want to be there anymore. But this is kind of like the not self area. How do you get out of it? Well, now that you know that your bitterness is an indication of those people, places, or things that should change, maybe you should look at that with clarity and see what you need to do next. So, like I said, this is a place where you do not have consistent access to being instantaneous. Now, the thing is that your other chart, if you were born at a different time of day, you could or could not have this defined. So I'm not going to say too much here, but I'm just going to say the not self aspect is keeping a hold of things that are long past their expiration date or letting go of support systems. Like I said, I don't have your exact time of birth, so I don't know if this is correct or not. Now, we're going to move to this diamond here. This is called the G center. This is about your direction, connection, role, identity in life. So you'll notice that here, there's actually not even any colors off any of these numbers, which means that it's completely undefined or completely open. I think that this is one of the most beautiful centers to have completely open, your G center. What does that mean? Okay, so the not self expression of this, let's talk about this. If you're making improper decisions for yourself, you're going to try to make this identity for yourself that's the same. You're going to try to be the same person every day. You're going to try to prove to people that you know where you're going in life. You're going to try to prove that you know the best connections or something. You know, just a variety of these. So those are the not self expressions. But if you're acting your true self, this is such a beautiful, beautiful center. One of my best friends has this completely open, and the way that she experiences this is that, well, she's a creative. So she picks up her paintbrushes for watercolor for, a year. And then, then she does cosmetology. And then she goes and does pyrotechnics. And then she comes back and she does her painting. And now this time she does painting with acrylic, not water. So she is here to experience every role, every identity, and every direction in life. And so are you. You need to get comfortable with the idea of who am I today? And not let people shame you into completing things. If you're meant to complete things, they'll get complete. But my girlfriend has so many incomplete tasks, and it's beautiful. She's just meant to dabble in a bunch of different things and pick them back up later when she has the energy to do it. And she is so good at what she does. She's in the movie industry. She does props. And I mean, good for her for picking up those things and not listening to people for her to finish her veterinary school or for her to finish her whatever. So I think it's beautiful. It tells you exactly where you need to go in life. And how do you actually listen to this? Okay, this is like a compass. This G center, if you enter a place and your body's like, oh, no way, fuck this, listen to that. Your compass is telling you that you're having the wrong experiences with the wrong people, having the wrong opportunities. That's why I think that this is a beautiful, beautiful open center. Check it out. See how it works. Maybe you remember a time where you were like, I shouldn't be here, and it just went down in a very bad way. All right, so let's talk about this last center. It's the tiniest white center on the chart, and in my opinion, it gives some of the biggest impact. This is called the heart center. It's not about love. It's about commitment, willfulness. You're like, well, I don't have any access to willpower or commitment. Of course you do. You just don't have the ability to just like instantaneously commit to things. And that's another place in your chart, a fourth area, where you're not this instantaneous person. Your energy knows what you're here to commit to. So, although it's tiny, it has the biggest impact on the chart. This is actually where, if you're acting your not self, and 70% of the world has this white or undefined. If you're acting your not self, you feel like you have something to prove. You're trying to prove something to yourself. I'm going to start by saying you have absolutely nothing to prove, Jack. Not even to yourself. You know, get that better number, get more followers, or, you know, do that better video or do that longer thing. You have nothing to prove to yourself. Not your viewers, not yourself, no one. What could you find yourself proving? Well, you could find yourself trying to prove your value, trying to prove control, trying to prove your materialistic direction. And this actually gets synthesized into the rest of the chart. So that's why I said it has some pretty heavy impact on the rest of the chart. So, you know, maybe you feel like you have to prove your direction, identity in life. Or maybe you feel like you have to have control over your identity and direction in life. Or maybe you have to feel like you have to prove that you're an Energizer bunny and you can go, 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 and you can commit to all the things, or that you can control your energy. Or maybe you feel like you have to prove that you're a good person and you're going to hold on to all these terrible things that are no longer good for you or beneficial for you. Or you're going to prove, oh, I can do it all by myself, and you let go of your good support systems. Those are not self-expressions. Or in the head, oh, I have all the answers. I can prove that I am inspirational. I got what it takes to be inspirational. I'm going to prove it. So it can be such a hefty little center that does a lot of not self-damage. So how do you avoid that? You just wait to be recognized for your awesome. Gain your clarity when making those decisions in life. I mean, you don't have to gain clarity on going pee. Your body's going to tell you that. But in a synthesized way, what does this look like? Well, I feel like I have to be inspirational regarding my direction, and I feel like I have to do these long streams because I have to prove like I'm a good person, and I have to prove like I'm a good community tribal member, and then I have to have control over my thoughts. I have to have control over my direction, and I'm just going to go, go, go until I figure out how to do that without support. I'm just going to do it all by myself. So that could be the not self you. And it's going to lead you very, very bitter. But the thing is, once again, I told you that I don't know your exact time of birth. So this split definition would actually go deeper into telling you what is it very specifically that it is that you're feeling conditioned to be. And thus far, it would be these two places, 22 and 36. So, I understand 22, it's like about being social. So maybe you feel like you have to be social. Jack Manifold. You are a projector. You are here to wait for the invitation and gain clarity about those things that you want to do in life. I'm not saying to not go out there and do nothing and disengage. Now go out there, take your energy for a walk. See if you want to do any of those things while you're out. Did your energy give you an indication of what clarity you got for it? You are a person who is here to be as sensitive and to synthesize things. You are a person who is here to understand and to formulate and to structure and break apart those things, because when you are inspirationally working as yourself, then the tribe is just going to pick up on that, and they're just going to support you and help you, and you're going to support them in return. But you will find yourself becoming bitter when you try to force what you think you're doing. If you have this agenda or attachment to the outcome, like this ABC plan of what you think should be the outcome, or the look of what the goal should be, that's when you are stepping away from your energy talking. That's in your head. I need to do this because that's the goal. That will get me there. I'm going to invite you to see what happens when you let your energy talk. See if you can find so much success and peace within you. Because I know you're asking the question, what's next? What am I going to do now? So, Jack Manifold, thank you for allowing me to do this opportunity. And if you have any questions, or you actually want me to do this for reals for you with your exact time of birth, totally will. Just hit me up. My name is Katie Lynn, K80LYN. And if you just Google that, you can find me everywhere. I'm a streamer on Twitch, though. And this is my full-time job.